Call the meeting to order. Roll call. Maria Okpara present. Rick Raleigh.
Here.
Wilson So. Dennis Mender.
Here.
Adeline Blassingame. Absent. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Mr. Rall, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please join me the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
The Board of Trustees would like to remind members of our community that you may remove your mask while making your public comment if you feel comfortable. Kylie, do we have any cards?
We do not.
Thank you. Closed session. We need to go into closed session to discuss the following. Mr. Clark.
Okay. Item B, or excuse me, item 1, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, transfer, leave, title, certificated and classified employees. Number 2, public employees, appointed, resignation, retirement, reduction, title, certificated and classified employees. Item 3, conference litigation, government code section 54956.9 subsection A, and current litigation, 6 cases. 1813952, 1907172, 2011183, and 54956.9 subsection 2E and subsection 1. Anticipated litigation, 4 cases, 2018/1907, 2020, 21, 05, 2020, 21, 07, 2020, 21, 08. Item 4, conference with labor negotiator, agency negotiator Dustin Conrad, employee organization Apple Valley Unified Teachers Association. Item 5, conference with labor negotiator, agency negotiator Dustin Conrad, employee organization California School Employees Association. Item 6, conference with labor negotiator, agency negotiator Trinae Nelson, employee organization unrepresented. And last item, superintendent evaluation.
Motion to go into closed session.
I'll move the item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'm going to close. So, closed session time. Call the meeting to order. Do we have a union representative for CSEA?
There is not.
How about AVUTA?
There is not.
Thank you. The clerk will read out any actions taken in closed session.
Yes. So,
Might have to move your microphone.
okay. So from closed session, I'm going to read out the following items. B2, public employee appointment, resignation, retirement, reduction. So this was to appoint Jeanette Martinez as principal of Vanguard Preparatory Range 14, column 1. So on a motion by Bender and a second by So, the board approved on a 4-0 vote to promote you to that position. So
Yep.
thank you. Should be noticed that Blasting Game was absent. And again, in closed session, as a result of the district reorganization, leadership development, and the needed distribution of duties and responsibilities, the Board of Trustees approves the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint, redesignate Renee Castillo from Coordinator Student Services to Director Student Services effective July 1st, 2021, range 13, column 1, 210 based duty days. Appoint and redesignate Renee Thomas from Coordinator Student Readiness to Director Educational Services effective July 1st, 2021, range 13, column 1, 210 duty days. Appoint Christian Dupree as Director of Human Resources, range 13, column 5, on the certificated management salary schedule 210 base duty days effective July 1st, 2021. Appoint Susan Kim Lasco as interim principal, Mariana Academy, range 14, column 1, and the certificated management salary schedule 210 base duty days effective July 1st, 2021. On a motion by So and a second by Bender, the board unanimously approve those appointments and those rescheduling. B6, Public Employee Conference with Labor Negotiator, Agency Negotiator Trinae Nelson. As a result of the district reorganization, leadership development, and the needed distribution of duties and responsibilities, the Board of Trustees approves the recommendation of the superintendent to amend the following job description titles. From Director English Language Development Programs and College Readiness to Director Educational Service Equity and Access. On a motion by So and a second by Okpara, the board unanimously approved that motion. And finally, in closed session, conference with labor negotiator, agency negotiator, Trinae Nelson, employee organization unrepresentative. Adjustment to the certificated management salary schedule, redesignating Director 2 to reflect the following: from Director 1, range 13 to 10 days, to Director 2, range 14 to 10 days, effective July 1st, 2021, on a motion by So, and a second by Okpara. The board unanimously supports that motion. So, thank you, everybody. Always good to do promotions.
Yes, it is.
The
We
board
always
may,
working hard for, so.
the board may approve the agenda as is or add and or pull items from the consent agenda for discussion and or action. We need to adopt the agenda as is. I need a motion.
Moved. I'll second it then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Blasting Game is absent. Thank you. Proposed budget presentation by Mr. Schollenberg.
Thank you. If you don't mind, give me a minute here as I grab the screen. You also do have a copy of my slides at your seat. In preparation for the public hearing for the budget later on the agenda today, and in preparation to adopt the budget at next Thursday's board meeting, I'd just like to share a little bit of information about the proposed budget that was part of the packet. So first off, just really quick, we do use a lot of resources to prepare this, of course. We have to have a starting point for next year, and that's our estimated ending point for the current year. So that's that first item, estimated actuals as of May 21. We also rely heavily on the governor's January budget proposal and the May revision, which was recently released. We utilize the FCMAT LCFF calculator, the school services dartboard, and the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools common message are also very important guiding documents as we build our budget. So just a really quick rundown of where we're estimating we are going to end the current fiscal year. And one quick disclaimer, now that I've put this in writing, it's wrong. It will change between now and when we close the books, but this is our best estimate as we sit here as we sat here in May, because the budget was finished up last month. So you'll look and see our total revenues, we're looking at about $208 million. A significant portion of that is one-time federal and state coronavirus mitigation funding that flowed to us in several different pots over the course of the last 14 months. We're planning to expend approximately $185 million, and you'll see what happens if you look at the line over on the left titled ending fund balance. You'll see we have 3 columns there, the first one unrestricted. We're still projecting a significant deficit spend on the unrestricted side of our budget this year. So about a $5.5 million deficit to spend that down to 12.7. That's one of the things that will change between now and when we close the books. We have planned expenditures or budgeted expenditures that are still in the budget that will or may not occur between now and June 30. So of course, those will be adjusted when we close the books. On the restricted side, you'll see $69 million in revenue, $67 million in expenditures, a $26 million contribution. And you're probably wondering, well, why are we contributing $26 million to the restricted side if we're not spending as much as we got? That's because of the nature of the funding. The one-time federal and state coronavirus funding cannot be used to support the programs that we're contributing to. That $26 million contribution really supports our special education program and our routine restricted maintenance program, which we cannot use those coronavirus monies to support. So you'll see we are projecting a significant excess on the restricted side of our budget, primarily due to those one-time funds. A little detail on the expenditures, just to share with you, $63 million in certificated salaries, almost $26 million in classified, almost $44 million in employee benefits. That covers health and welfare, STRS, PERS contributions, unemployment insurance, books and supplies. You'll see the other categories totaling about $185 million. And just to call attention to some minor transfer outs that we do make, we had to transfer $748, or we are estimating we're going to be transferring $748 to our Nutrition Services Fund to cover some bad debt. And our Fund 40 is a reserve for capital outlay. That $1.2 million estimated transfer is RDA funding that flows to us within Fund 1, but it is limited to use on facilities only. Therefore, we transfer that to Fund 40, our special reserve for capital outlay, as we have done consistently for the past several years. So as we look for next year's budget, here's some quick assumptions. We're budgeting our ADA at 1920 P2, and you're going to say, well, why 1920? Well, 2021, we didn't do ADA. We had a pandemic, so we just didn't take ADA. So we had to hold harmless in the 2021 year. We were funded based on our 1920 P2. So when we look at 21-22, we're going to be funded on the 1920 P2 because that's the only ADA marker we have, because we are currently assuming a decline in ADA for the 21-22 budget year. If in fact our ADA in the budget year is higher than 12,608, we will be funded on that higher ADA, but that is the lowest ADA we'll be funded on. The LCFF COLA, the statutory COLA, of course, is 1.7%, but the governor has proposed what they're calling a mega COLA of 5.07% on the LCFF. Now, that does not apply to all programs. There are other funding sources and programs that will only receive the statutory COLA. But that impact on our LCFF, if that COLA comes through at the 5.07, we'll be budgeting an LCF revenue of about $143 million. And we're also budgeting additional coronavirus revenues next budget year that were not budgeted in the current year of about $36.6 million of ESSER 3 money. And also, I apologize, I did not notate it on here, also our in-person instruction grant is part of those additional one-time funds we're budgeting in next year. We're also assuming K-3, fully staffed, fully funded, budgeting our routine restricted maintenance contribution, and of course, our whopping $1.4 million for a $6 million transportation program that we get from the state of California. On the expenditure side, of course, we have included step and column for all of our units. We have budgeted compensation increases based on negotiated agreements. Anything in process is currently not budgeted. These are agreements that have been reached. STRS and PERS contribution rates, of course, are in there, and position control is going to be something that's very important moving forward in the salaries and making sure we have accurate positions for the folks that are doing the work in the district. We are replacing buses, so we have some fleet replacement expenditures. Of course, all of our LCAP expenditures are included in our budget. One thing I would like to note, in years past, we have made a general fund contribution to Fund 14 to cover deferred maintenance. That is not part of our budget in the budget year or the out years currently. So this is our projection as of today for our budget year. You'll see we're looking at a little under $208 million in revenues in the combined column, with about $197 million in expenditures. Not planning on spending all of the one-time funding that comes in for the coronavirus mitigation. Some of those funds don't expire until 2023, and some of those funds do not expire until 2024. So we're currently not budgeting to expend all of those funds. Hence, you will see combined ending fund balance grows to little over $50 million, the majority of which is restricted due to those one-time coronavirus mitigation funds. As we move into the first out year in our budget projection, 22-23, we are currently projecting a slight uptick in our ADA, but you'll see that bullet there says the recapture of the reduced enrollment during the pandemic. Right now, we are assuming those kids are coming back. Every one of them and then some are going to come back to Apple Valley Unified School District. So we will have to monitor this very carefully during the 21-22 year and make sure they do come back, because if they don't, we will absolutely have to make adjustments to our assumptions in our year 2 and year 3 of our multi-year projection. Any reduction in that ADA, of course, will facilitate a reduction in our LCFF funding and a reduction in our revenues. And we are, of course, assuming K-3 grade span and the federal revenue assumptions, all those one-time monies that were budgeted to be received in the current year and the budget year. Of course, we have to remove all those in year 2 of our multi-year projection, because we're not planning on getting any more of those one-time revenues. We will receive them in the 21-22 year. On the expenditure side, again, we do accommodate for step and column. We have not budgeted any compensation increases for any units. We budget the STRS and PERS rates as proposed, and the governors may revise. And of course, we absolutely include all of our ongoing LCAP expenditures in our budget. Here's a quick rundown of our best projection at this point of what the 22-23 year will look like. Now you see some big red numbers there in the restricted and the combined column, because now we are beginning to spend those one-time, we're continuing to spend those one-time coronavirus mitigation funds. But remember, those revenues are not there. Under the restricted revenue line, you see that's now only $20 million, because our restricted revenues have now normalized. No additional one-time funding in the 22-23 year. However, we are budgeting significant expenditures of those revenues that we received in the prior 2 years, which is our current year and our budget year. Hence that red $18 million deficit on the restricted side and a $16 million deficit in the combined, spending down the restricted ending balance of those coronavirus funds. We get to our third year in our multi-year projection. Again, we're projecting a slight increase in that ADA. Again, I put that recapture of enrollment, the reduced enrollment during the pandemic. We'll have to keep an eye on that. The statutory COLA is 2.71%, which will net us an increase in LCFF funding for that year of a little over $4.4 million in current projections. And of course, we are assuming our K-3 grade span adjustment revenue. Step and column, no compensation increases, STRS and PERS rates, and of course our LCAP expenditures. And finally, the numbers. You'll see in that restricted column a continued spend down of those one-time funds because now they expire in September of 2024. So we are assuming expense of all of those funds by June 30th of 2024. So our revenue on the restricted side is again normalized right there around 20 million. And our combined revenues at 170, a little under 175 with expenditures of 187 facilitate that deficit spend about 14 million again on the restricted side. Back to the unrestricted column, you do see an excess there of about $4.5 million, which is what we are contemplating or what we have in our multi-year projection now is some salaries that are being covered by those coronavirus mitigation funds that past this particular year will be put back on the unrestricted side. So right now we're showing a surplus on the unrestricted side, but as we get into this year and the 24-25 year, that will not be there. Those salaries will then move back to the unrestricted side of the budget. Some highlights and concerns for the future. Of course, COVID-19 is not gone. It's still around. Unfortunately, has created some economic and political pressures in the world and the United States and in California. Our enrollment trend that we have to keep a really close eye on based on what our assumptions are currently and assuming all of those kids that were not with us this year are coming back. We are assuming the COLAs based on school services and Department of Finance recommendations for our multi-year projection. And of course, the STRS and PERS costs. We did experience some rate buy downs that Governor Newsom put in place for last year in this. However, he has not proposed any further rate buy downs. So those rates will continue to rise over the course of this multi-year projection. The state adopted budget, the governor has proposed and the May revised. The legislature has already come out with proposed modifications to the governor's proposals. There are some deadlines looming for the legislature to adopt and of course the governor to sign. What happens is if next week you take action to approve this budget, which we do have to approve a budget prior to June 30th, depending on what the state adopts, we will of course make appropriate adjustments and I will have those adjustments in front of you when we come back in August. The biggest what if is the economic recovery. Some people will say we've had a record recovery post-COVID-19, which we have. The revenue continues to flow into the state, far exceeding the state's projections. But the question is, how long will that last? And of course, as I mentioned, budget adjustments will come to you in August based on the adopted state budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Board of Trustees will again like to remind members of our community that you may remove your mask while making your public comments if you feel comfortable to do so. Kylie, do you have any cards?
We do not.
Thank you. Superintendent's comment.
I'd like to congratulate the staff that were appointed today, those that are stepping up to do some new roles, and
Is your mic on?
it is. Is that better?
Yeah.
And I need to make the board aware that yesterday, June 2nd, I received a letter of resignation from Area 1 trustee, Mrs. Adeline Blassingame, with an effective date of June 15th. I have filed the letter to Mr. Alejandre, the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools, and it has been accepted. If it's the desire of the board, I will bring back information after investigating a process either to work through a provisional appointment or a special election at the June 10th board meeting next week. So I'll bring that information back so that you can make a decision as to what you want to proceed with replacing that area trustee. There's a 60-day timeline that is started now. And then on to district news. Graduations obviously were amazing. We had some wind. We had some technology problems. We had the police department come forward and help us with our 2020 group and allow us to use their PA system in order to announce students, and just amazing, just the entire thing. The kids were well behaved, they enjoyed themselves, the staff was wonderful in celebrating them, and so many people showed up for the 2020 graduation in order to support the students. We have lots of retirees who are not responding to our call to ask for information about them, and so we extended that timeline so that we can celebrate them. It may just be their time in service in this district if they don't respond, but we're trying one more attempt before the June 10th board meeting, because we do want to have an opportunity to celebrate them. And then two last comments, one having to do with the budget committee. I so appreciate the fact that Mr. Schulenberg and Cindy Kunkel put together the budget committee, and the people that have participated. I know that we have 2 board members that are on that committee, and we've really come a long way in as a team understanding the process by which the administrative division puts together a budget for 3 years and what the questions are. And then the final comment, it has to do with some activities that Cabinet and I participated in on Tuesday after returning from Memorial Day. We were contacted by the San Bernardino County Fairgrounds. They wanted us to experience showing animals like our FFA students did. And so it was a bit of a competition between Lucerne Valley leadership, Apple Valley leadership, and Snowline leadership. And I want to share first, and I'll stop razzing Mr. Conrad after this board meeting, but this is Mr. Conrad's participation ribbon. This would be my 4th place ribbon. Mr. Schulenberg got a 6th place ribbon, and Mr. Schlosser took 1st place in showing what they called lambs, but they were very large sheep. And I will tell you that those kids put a lot of work into this, and they trained us up in about 15 minutes and then let us free without leads or anything and had us show the animals. And so this is going to be an annual event, and next year we will invite you to come watch us in our dilemma. They tell us that they're going to up the ante with what kind of animal we get to show next year. But Apple Valley likes to have fun, but we also like to compete. So we took the sweeps for the most part.
Good job. Mr. So, do you have a comment?
Wilson, you have a comment?
I don't have any comment. The only thing positive, very positive to say is that my youngest daughter, the last graduate from F1 High School, Dr. Catherine, so she texted me, said, "Did you guys really have a graduation?" So I saved and used the clippings showing the 2020-21 graduate of F1 High School.
Good job. Mr. Bender?
No, I'm just happy that we had in-person graduation. The kids really enjoyed it. We had the normal win. PA broke down, but other than that, it went great.
Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, just want to thank, since the 2021 school year is winding down, I want to thank everybody from in the district for all the hard work, from the top to the bottom, all the teachers, the staff, everybody's done a really great job. I hear from different people in the community, and there hasn't been very many negative things said about how the schools were handled with the COVID. And just again, it's been a pleasure to be on this board and to working around all these hardworking people that show up all the time. So just thanks to everybody. Renee, you've done a good job leading the charge along with your cohorts at the other side of the podium here. Thank you.
And then it's me. I'd like to take the time to congratulate all of the new hires and all those who are moving up. I've had 2 weeks, 2 board meetings that I didn't attend. So I'm taking this opportunity to congratulate each and every one of you that got promoted to your new position. And those that are still holding their position, you can count on me stopping by to see you at work, to see what you do. But when I come in, don't worry. I'm just there to give you a tap on the shoulder if it is okay at that time, just to let you know that I notice your work. I notice what you're doing at your individual schools. For this coming school year, my plan is to wear your T-shirts proudly. So let me know how much it costs so that I can pick up a T-shirt from each of their schools with the logo on it. And I have no problem whatsoever in wearing those to celebrate your students and to celebrate you. I'm hoping you have a wonderful summer, if you can rest. But just know that you have a good support system sitting on this podium that will be there if you call them. Thank you for all of your years of service and months of service and dealing with COVID, and now we are getting ready to return. Thank you so much. It's time for a public hearing. We'll conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed budget for the Apple Valley Unified School District for the 2021-2022 school year. Time opened is 3:08. Any comments?
There are no public comments submitted at this time.
So we're going to close it at 3:08. Number 2, conduct a public hearing to solicit the recommendation and comment of the public regarding the expenditures proposed in the 3-year 2021-2024 local control accountability plan for the district called the LCAP by Mr. Schlosser. Time opened 3:08.
And I'll just say briefly that although this says to solicit public comments, you know by the presentation last time that we have well-documented and extensive stakeholder input in this process that does not in any way limited to this meeting. In fact, the entire document is really generated by that group that helps to build it. And so there's been no significant change since that day. The document is posted with a link this time, and it will stay that way. That's the way the California Department of Education has provided the service of giving input on the template side so that the business office and my department can put in the information, but then it displays nicely for parents. And then if there are adjustments, we can make those adjustments without having to take a PDF down and reposting a new PDF. So it will remain a web link on our website so that families can look at the budget overview for parents and the LCAP document. And of course, we'll continue to solicit input for each year. The one other thing I'll mention is that this LCAP is unique in that in the annual update portion, we are both updating the 2019 LCAP and what we believe, what we could, the 1920 school year, and the 2021 unfortunately titled LCAP that stood for something else. It was the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, which had a totally different format. And so you will see a dizzying array of information inside that link. The new plan is at the bottom, and that's how that will work. And so I just wanted to clarify the way the structure of the document is, and then also just to say that the input from the families has been well heard and represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for that particular one, will people be able to get to the dashboard and see the most current LCAP?
The
For
LCAP,
the district.
the dashboard is a different link, and the LCAP link does not automatically provide a dashboard link, but we do. However, as you know, this particular year, there's not much on the dashboard. As soon as there is, we'll continue to use that. In fact, all the dashboard metrics are LCAP metrics.
Thank you so much. Time closed is 3:11. Yeah. Discussion action session. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees discuss and take action on the following items. Approve the certificated and classified personnel actions as listed. I need a motion.
I'll move the item.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 2, approve the requested leaves as noted.
Move the item.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item J, consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees consider approving a number of agenda items as a consent list. Consent items are routine in nature and can be enacted in one motion without further discussion. This procedure conserves meeting time for a full discussion of the significant issues. I would like to make a comment on item J3 at the May 20th, 2021 meeting. We did not announce after closed session how individual board members voted to employ the Director of Human Resources, as it was not a 5-0 unanimous vote. The vote was 4 to approve, with Mrs. Blasingame voting no. That is reflected in the minutes of the May 20th, 2021 board meeting within items J3.
I move items 1 through 17.
Second.
Any opposed? Thank you. Consent items to be approved on one motion, 1 through 17. I need a motion.
Second.
Second by Raleigh. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Superintendent's comment.
Just one final comment. Tomorrow, we do our last graduation, which is our adult education students at Victor Valley College at about 4 p.m. I hear there's quite a crowd, and we're excited to celebrate that last group that is a consortium group. It's the entire High Desert Adult Education Consortium. So we'll be graduating students from Apple Valley, Hesperia, Victor, and all of the other
And
schools
Lucerne.
that support. Yes. Yep.
Mrs. So. Do you have a comment,
You got any
Mrs.
more
So?
comments, Wilson?
No, I don't have it.
Okay. Mr. Bender?
No. Let's get out of here.
Mr. Raleigh?
I do, Dennis. One more thing. Come on, it's daytime. It's still light outside.
I'm hungry.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to the police department. Okay, I drive around a lot and they are always in front of the schools and they get your attention and you slow to 25. And I've had them actually kind of give me the evil eye when I looked down and I was like, I was doing 26, but it's good to see them out there because it is dangerous for these kids. And
Especially in Oklahoma.
yeah, so keep it up because you drive other cities, you don't see it. So
Yeah.
just good job. That's it. Okay, I'm done.
Well, I didn't have a comment until Dennis says we need to get out of here, so I have a comment. I also have to thank the police department. I've never, in this real difficult time that we're living, the police gets a bad rap. And I was so impressed at the graduation when the community applauded them for coming onto the field. And that was really something to see. I wish I could have recorded it because it was just a beautiful thing to see. I thank you again for doing what you do, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam
right.
President, we will not post the agenda until Monday because that will give us the 72 hours and these are back-to-back meetings. So
Okay.
it will not be posted tomorrow. It will be posted on Monday.
All right. We don't have any more closed session, do we? Dennis will kill us. All right. Can somebody move to close?
I make motion, we adjourn the meeting. Second.
All in favor? Okay, we have signing of documents.